It's my great pleasure to come here to speak with you this afternoon, sharing some of my personal experience. I was initially trained as an architect. Now I have my own urban design and master planning firm. When we set up the business 5 years ago, our initial principle is to promote best master planning practice worldwide. I think it's a very wide, very broad goal, but I think actually through our profession, we're trying to really implement that through our projects and our development principles. I'm also qualified as an RIBA client advisor. Client advisor is kind of a group of people, senior professionals, provide strategic advice for early stage of projects. So client advisor may not be a member of the design project team, but actually you can at early stage engage with client to give them strategic advice, tell them what's the best approach to do. And it's very important really to draw from RIBA the experiments from in use, from previous projects, from other best practice, really to draw these conclusions, to feedback to strategic definition of the early stage, and also help the client to develop a brief, and also engaging with other team members to develop concept stage of design. So this is what I'm going to talk later. But I think actually when we think about the built environment professionals and also architects, actually our role have been changed quite a lot. We are now in a global context. Whether you like it or not, every city is competing in a global picture. And also actually it's more likely we are seeing an international developer. Either they come to our hometown, or actually it's more likely for our firm to go abroad to practice abroad. So we need a global picture, and really we need to promote best practice worldwide as well. At the moment, actually quoted on the Federal Review, it says actually every week there's a city equivalent size of Birmingham being built every week. And this trend is going to happen for the next 20 years. So this is the amount of work actually we are seeing as professionals in the built environment. But actually, although there are lots of people being engaged and involved in the built environment, like developers, planners, project managers, and financial sector people, but actually, I think the core skill actually is in hand with architects about high quality built environments are essential for sustainable communities. So no matter where in the world, actually we need to build places for people, for community, for place can last for generations. So these are the core skills we really have to make sure it's in hand and people can understand that, especially our clients. We need to influence them, let them know actually we are the people has the skill, and they need to really engage that, and they really need to appreciate that. I think that's very, very important. And also the whole climate around our profession changed as well. People are more willing to engage visitors. Originally, architectural design maybe is designing a shelter for people to stay, to live, to work. But nowadays, people want to engage with the designers. They want to be part of the process, and also how our building being built and the performance of our building very much rely on how they are using this building. So actually the communication from early stage is very important to make sure actually our architectural design and also our built environment is reflecting people's and the community's need, make sure that's really fit for purpose. When we look back actually about our clients, actually on the Federal Review, actually, Farrell said actually when he first started work, he was working for states, for public sector. So originally, architects was mainly employed by the government, but nowadays, actually, more than 60% of our clients are private sector clients. So private sector clients, I think they have, although they want to deliver good products, but actually on the other hand, they are more profit-driven clients. So how we work with them to influence them to actually achieve something we think not only good for their profit, but also good for our community as a whole is very, very important. So these are the skills we need to build into our negotiation skills as well. And also our project team changed very much as well. In 1750, centuries ago, architects was the sole kind of profession, really control the whole built environment. Actually, architects have a very much influence on the product, the final product. But later on, more and more professions engage, like civil engineers, landscape architects, structural engineers, town planners, and service engineers. And now we have project management team. So more and more people engaged in the build profession. But actually, you can see the architects really counted to become a very small, not a very, can become a smaller part of the overall picture, although the whole built environment activities are much more than before. So, but within these professions, as I said before, architects actually and urban designers are the people with the skill to really put everything into a physical form and a spatial form, to how to make sure actually we are the people know we know. So how to make sure, although you are not the project manager may not be the project leader. So as the architect, how to make sure your role in the project team is not only restricted within your very narrative role, but actually you can extend the role much wider to influence other people. I think that's very important as well. As Adrian, actually, when I was giving the topics, I was really tearing my hair out, because actually I never really strategically thinking or really structurally thinking what are the really soft skills needed by leaders. I think I genuinely know, but actually never put them down onto paper. So my colleague said, why don't you Google that? So actually I Googled and realized actually there are hundreds of these type of talks about what are the soft skills needed by leaders. The most common ones, I think people all can understand that easily: strong communication skills, ability to influence, and humility. But I think these are quite general. Everybody seems to know that, but really how to really reflect that on a personal level, to make sure actually, because everybody is different, how to make that relate to yourself. So I think apart from these soft skills, fundamentally we need our hard skills to support our soft skills. I think the first thing is professional integrity. This sounds very high level, but actually this, I think, professional integrity is crucial for our personal credibility, and really is fundamental for our professional success. And also our professional skills and knowledge is not only about the architectural design skills, it's really about understand other professions and how to work within a team. These are the key skills you can learn from others, and also to make sure your communication is really effective. And also organizational capacity. Its ability to organize, express in terms of, for example, human resource, and also physical and material resource, financial resource, and others. These are the hard skills to make sure actually when you communicate with clients and project managers, these things are reflected on your key tasks. So our topic is talking about learning really from stage 7, like the post-occupation evaluation, the project outcomes, and the research and development, update project information, clients' feedback, sustainability checkpoints, and the maintenance or operational development. These are the things really we can learn from our own project, but also there are lots of other resources we can learn from research feedbacks and research papers. These outcomes, combine them together, are very important to talk with clients to really define what they want to achieve for their particular project. And it's very strategic. Think about, it's like positioning, how you want to position yourself and how the client want to position their project. So this, I'm not going to talk too much in detail, but I think everybody really already know the details. But I think the soft skills really make sure the message can get across is very important. First of all, is thinking beyond the boundaries. Having a vision is very important to think about actually what this project is going to achieve for longer term, especially not only for the client itself, it's also for the beneficiary community, how the building is going to fit into the overall context, and then how it's going to function in, say, 50 years' time or 100 years' time. And also joint up thinking between other professionals. Put placemaking at the heart of the project is very, very important, because other professions like project manager, maybe they are more concerned about procurement procedures. And also solicitors, maybe they are more concerning about the legal process. But actually, from architect's point of view, you can really think about a longer term approach to make sure actually this project can have a longer term life. So how to do this? I think being proactive and rather than reactive is very important. So actually, naturally engaging everybody in the team, make sure your message can get across to everybody else. And also, naturally, care about the project is very, very important. Use your best professional standard, no matter where the project is and who the client is. Sometimes, especially working in developing countries, the project's clients, maybe they are not experienced enough. So actually, they maybe narrowed their expectation to a certain extent. But I think as professionals, we should really expand that to really promote the best practice. Make sure actually they can gain much more than they could if they only focus on what they originally thought they're going to have. And also, promoting this best practice can really influence the client and make people kind of appreciate your value in the team, and really can help that to really influence the whole culture of the team. I think that's very important. And also communicate best practice between your team members and also other colleagues in the company. This would help people to understand, actually, this best practice can really achieve the most cost-effective outcomes. How to do that? I think we need to understand the economic drivers behind the development. The best design solutions may not be the most expensive design solutions. This need to be understood by the client. So actually, all our best practice suggestions would really directly relate to the outcome of the project and help to make it more sustainable in longer term. And also, I think from my personal experience, I think being honest is very, very important, because trust your professional judgment and put professional integrity as priority. Don't be afraid to debate with other team members, because actually debate is very healthy. Don't take that personal. And if you envisage any approach or principles could be wrong, say it directly. And I think actually that would help to gain your trust from the client. One of my experiments in 2010, when I was working on a project, actually it was during the financial crisis time, the client was very keen to get development being approved by the local planning authority. But I was the writer for the design code of the project. So the local authority went to see me. We had a client meeting together, and they asked me whether the applied scheme really fulfill the requirement of the design code. Actually, I knew the client wanted me to say, yes, it's kind of achieved that standard. But I think from professional integrity part, they really can't say that. So actually, I was silent for 1 minute. I knew what he wanted me to say, but I said, no, I don't think it's up to our standard. So actually, at one point, I was thinking maybe I would lose my job, because my company, I was working for another company. My company may say, actually, you really upset the client. The client may say, I really don't want her to work on our project. But actually, after that, the client agreed to redesign the scheme. And the local authority, actually, they got a much better design, and they happily approved that later. So actually, we achieved something much better. And the client, after that, actually, they totally trust me. Usually, no, actually, if I say, this is great, they understand that. They think I'm saying honestly. If I say there's something wrong with it, they know actually I'm saying from the bottom of my heart. So actually, although sometimes in short term, maybe you get a short-term trouble, maybe not even trouble, just don't be afraid to really say the truth. Don't be afraid of thinking how to make your client happy and how to please client. Because the client, they are actually employing not because you make them happy, it's because actually you tell them something they don't know. They pay you for your professional ability. So I think that's fundamental to be put into the bottom of our heart, to really think about when you talk with a client, how you position yourself. So from our experience, actually, we position ourselves as leaders, as best practice promotioners of projects. So we helped clients to define the brief. And also for lots of projects, actually some clients, especially in developing countries or even in the UK, clients really know a little about what they want to achieve, or maybe they have a quite narrative view. So actually helping them by looking a bigger picture, what they can achieve, and also how to engaging different professionals at different stage, especially at the early stage. When you define the project, to think about sustainability, think about the user experience, and think about how to really monitor the whole design process is very important. So having that whole picture built in early stage, like what I said, what we can learn from stage 7, tell that experiments to the client can really gain a lot by really saving more money and then to make the whole project more efficient. And also by be able to talk with client as the leaders and as the promotioner of best practice, actually you can be more creative because the client trusts you. Actually, what you produced is something they cannot get from anybody else. So that's what we learned from that as well. And also by working with the best designers and also by talking with clients, actually you can benefit the community as well. I think that's much even more important than only get a successful project on its own right. It's very important to really make sure the society, they can learn from that. And also, it's very important for, as architects, to feel the self-actualization because at the end of the day, we work as architects because we want to do something, we feel good about it. So being confident and being proactive can help you to achieve this altogether. This is our principle. So in the last 5 years, we have been engaging a lot of quite pioneering projects. For example, we were one of the finalists for the Wolfson's Economics Prize for Garden Cities. So really, we want to put our thinking together and really think beyond the boundary. And also, we're promoting best practice worldwide. For example, we recently developed a technical manual for how to develop green and low carbon towns in China. And this was funded by the Foreign and the Commonwealth Office. So by doing that, actually, we think apart from helping our own project to achieve a better quality, we want to help the whole profession to achieve a better standard. For people work in the built profession, to get better respect from our client, I think overall that would help us to get a much easier life together. So I think, although I didn't talk too much about the nitty-gritty of technical aspect, because I think people would understand that anyway. It's very, very clearly defined in the RBA book. But I think thinking beyond the boundary, thinking about what we want to achieve in longer term is really more important when you talk with clients, to really think about how, as architects, we position ourselves when we see our clients. So that's all my message. Thank you very much.
I suppose just to kick things up, one thing I was very struck by was your pie charts that illustrated in kind of stark and slightly horrifying detail the kind of role of the architect a couple of centuries ago and the gradually increasing cast of players until our kind of slice of wedge of influence seemed to almost disappear, to be almost invisible. And you also talked about the importance of professional integrity. So I suppose the question I was going to ask was, in terms of making the hard case to clients, why should they trust professionals at all? Because there is this kind of concept of all professionals being a kind of conspiracy against the laity and a kind of loss of faith in professions. And then I suppose, and why in particular should the client trust the architect to be the right person to make for what's the hard case when we kind of go into bat against a whole series of other consultants, often armed with spreadsheets and all sorts of apparently rational decision-making mechanisms that they can bring to bear?
I think that's the key message to try to cut across. Is really we need to convince the client we know something other people don't know. So we have the skills of design a place relates to human scale and to make it attractive, because beautiful place is very important. So we need to really convince that message to the client. It's really not about quantity, it's about quality. And I think to gain that trust is very important. As I mentioned earlier, originally architects were mainly working for states, for public sector. So actually there was a trust in there already. But now we work with private clients, so I have to make sure actually we're not really only want to make money from them. We're also delivering something other people cannot deliver. Because that's why I said really care about the project is very much important. So the client really know you care the project naturally, disregards who he is. You just care about want to deliver a good product. That's very, very important.
Do you think that's something we've got less able to articulate, this sense that a professional has a duty to the wider public good? and that's something we've kind of lost kind of track of a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't know, in
think
the
so.
last 20 or 30 years.
Yeah, I feel that as well, yes. Because actually, I was reading the file review while I was preparing this presentation. Actually, he made a statement because lots of people now, they are complaining about how bad the new development environment could be, and some really ugly architecture, and also some housing estate are not really satisfying. Actually, people blaming about architects and blaming planners for that. But actually, maybe the planners and architects really count a small proportion of that mistake. So we really need to understand, actually, we need to be the champions to protect the built environment, to really make sure people understand what are the key principles we should follow. I think CAPE did a good job to really tell people how to promote this best practice. But now I think this kind of spirit is being kind of left a little bit. So how we can gain this inspiration in our profession is very important. So I think as a whole, the architectural profession should be the leader to really. Because at the moment, I think maybe we are more led by politicians. They tell us what to do. And then professional bodies are a bit scared to say, actually, yes, the government policy is this, and how we should achieve that. But actually, why cannot we be the champions to tell them, actually, that's how you should achieve that?
I think there was a subtle message for the RIBA there about being a bit more sort of practical. I suppose the second question I had in mind is, well, there's a good old-fashioned northern expression about having two ears and one mouth, and that's for good reason, because you're supposed to use them in that proportion kind of thing. So, but I was just wondering if you'd give us a little bit of insight. I'm particularly thinking about the soft skills box that we've got to fill in on our worksheets about listening skills, and I would think particularly from your client advisor type role, just how you go about that process of engaging with a client and really understanding what their drivers are, what they need in terms of outcomes from the project. Because again, I think a traditional criticism of the architect is that we often want to impose our own solution, not really understand what the actual problem is that we've been asked to solve. But you could give us any insight as to how you go about that.
Yeah, I think, yes, I think people may vary, but I think it's quite important to really listen what the clients want to achieve. Especially for private developers or private clients, sometimes they have quite a personal attachment to the project itself. So they may have a particular personal goals they want to achieve. So really understand that and articulate that in a more technical way. And also, at the same time, try to widening their vision. Because sometimes they can be quite narrative. Sometimes they want to achieve something not realistic. But actually, help them articulate that in a real physical form to say, actually, is that what we want to achieve? And also draw experience from other projects. And maybe not even architectural project, but maybe even in different fields can help them to achieve or understand what they want.
And I suppose my final sort of building on from that is just a little bit about sort of how you build that relationship of trust. I mean, I've been privileged the last few weeks to attend quite a few of the regional awards programs that the RIBA runs, and it's always very interesting to meet the clients of the award-winning schemes. And I would say, without exception, the very best work always results from a very close partnership between the client and the architect, and one where there is a very high level of trust. Do you have any kind of hints for us as to how you can develop that relationship of trust? Trust was a word you used in your presentation.
Yeah, I think development like trust takes time. So you need really, I think, although we say communication can help to influence the client, but I think actually your own action, how you do things during the project process, actually is more powerful way to is a more powerful way to influence the client, so they can see in the whole project process actually how you really very much willing to really act on the best behalf of the project. I think that's very important. So actually, that's what I said, why you should think beyond the boundary. So not only think about what I should do or how to protect, and I'm not doing too much work, but actually think for other people as well. So be a joint leader naturally. I think then client, they can see that.
Yeah, no, I understand. It's a kind of a talk is cheap kind of metaphor that action speak like that.
Actually, it's better, yes.
Do you select your clients in a way that do due diligence to whoever you're working with to make sure they share the same ethics and moral conduct that you believe in? Because you might have a client and they might be suggesting something that goes against what you believe in. Do you just close your eyes and do it? Or do you say, sorry, I can't help you because that's not what I believe in?
Yeah, I think I'm quite selective to my clients. So normally they come to me, and then if I think we share the same vision, and we will do the project. But sometimes if it's really beyond my ability, I will say actually I don't think it's really we're not the best people for you. So I think why as architectural profession we should hold that integrity. So everybody says no to something wrong, and then I think the built environment can be better because always somebody willing to do things.